I go to HOA meetings. I'm going to urban development meetings, and we are not there. We sit on all these apps and we complain about what the white man is not doing, what the government is not doing. We're shut out of industries. We're shutting ourselves out. We don't participate in the system. Whether you like it or not, it's the system that is there, right? When people talk about, urban development and they talk about, people coming and gentrifying our communities, we don't invest in our own communities. We go outside because we think they ice is colder. And we don't invest and put back in our neighborhoods. We're not showing up taking advantage of what is that? It's a tax savings for the communities that are in rural and urban areas.
Or empowerment zones.
Empowerment zones.
What's going on? We're glad to have you at another episode of Minding Your Biz podcast. Listen, everything that you hear or see on this podcast episode is for educational purposes only. We have not seen your books. We have not seen your specific situation. Make sure you please seek your financial advisor for anything pertaining to your situation. Peace.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Mind Your Biz podcast, where we talk about all things business. Minding your biz. I am one of your hosts, Farah B. Collins.
What's up, y'all? I'm Dr. BlackWealth.
All right.
Let's
what
get
we talking
into
about
this
today?
Thing. I guess a lot of things. But first off, what's going on with you? How you been? How's your week?
I don't even know. It's been so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've been, trying to get transition together with the team, the office, trying to get a handle on my daughter's reading and how she's doing in school, right? The life. I'm still a mom. And so that's like hitting me because I don't really know how to help her. Like my type of help is really not the type of help she needs. I'm finding that I'm not a great cheerleader in that regard because I come from such a harder cloth.
That's that Philly coming out, huh?
And so she's just not made and built the way I was built.
For sure.
And so it's difficult, it's challenging as a mom to see her struggle in reading and comprehension and getting her a tutor. It's just difficult watching her through that because I can't do the work. She's got to do the work. And so me trying to motivate her and infuse her and ignite her to stress the importance of why she has to do the work, why she can't quit. Yes, you're upset, you're frustrated, but why you got to keep going. And she's 7, right? Or 8. I'm sorry if she's one of those numbers. She's in 2nd grade. But it's hard to try to infuse my mindset as an adult into her mindset as a child, right? But I have to try to reach her some way so she can overcome. This is her first battle. This is her first struggle, right, that we're dealing with as a family. And so it's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult.
I can imagine I don't know. I think as generations keep going, there are a certain level of advantages and disadvantages to each one of them. And when you look at how we was raised, you was raised, I was raised, we grew up in different times than the comforts that we provide our kids today. And I think it allow a little bit of, in some regards, a little laziness, even on our part and our kids' part. So no, I can see the challenge in being able to not, or looking at something and can't really fix it, like just put it together and fix it.
I can't hire the people.
Right.
I can't put the pieces in place. I can't assemble a team.
Right.
She's, no matter what I put around her,
she still got to do it.
She's still got to do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like coaching.
For sure.
I mean, every coach, I'm learning it right now. It's like, even though he or she give you all the tools and you still got to do something.
You got to do the work.
Do something.
And so as an adult, I have certain expectations of my mentees and people as having a coach. But as my daughter, right, I can't, motivating children is very different, right? Because then you don't want to scar and traumatize them. Like, my mom was a tyrant. I don't want her to have that. And I know some of that is there. She is a tyrant. She is unyielding. she won't get off my back.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to stress the importance that you have to practice. You have to put in the work. And so I'm straddling the fence between, am I pushing too hard that's damaging her,
Right.
or am I not pushing her hard enough? And so I struggle with that.
Woo.
I struggle with that.
Y'all got some parenting advice, y'all. Let us know. It's hard out here for these parents.
You know, because I just think about when I was growing up, our parents, well, I don't know, maybe they did, but I could probably 100%, maybe 98% know that I don't think my mom was that concerned about my psychological trauma. She was like, you need to do said thing because this is what I said and this is what I know is going to help you be better.
Yeah.
Regardless, point blank. And so now, as you get older, you realize some of our trauma and some of our hang-ups on why we can in how we view certain things is from childhood.
For sure.
And so I'm, definitely mindful about how I impose myself, all of me, my mindset, how I grew up, who I am on her, right? Without breaking her spirit, without giving her room to grow and have a voice, and allowing her to really develop who she is, right? But still instilling discipline and a hard work ethic in her. So I'm really straddling that, so yeah, that was my week.
No,
it's happening. It's happening now. As a mom who has 2 children, who has a young Black daughter who I want to see do amazing things. I want to see her soar. But I know how difficult it is to have adversity. And right now starting, you know what I mean? And there's nothing, I can't just put a Band-Aid on it and say, baby, it's going to be okay, right? But I just, I'm having a moment in that regard.
I got you. That's anyway. Yeah, y'all got some parenting advice. Y'all, that is pretty difficult. But I don't know. Let me see. My week was. It's been some. This month is a transition month for me. December, as we close this month, right? But I'm trying to build up forward more momentum as we go into 2024 versus like waiting till 2024, right? Because we're already behind, and I'm always a big planner. So forward momentum and getting me fighting through adversity, getting back good habits, successful habits, right? On that road of success. We just got finished burying a close relative of mine, like a mom.
Yeah.
And then my uncle passed this week too, so it's just been
heavy.
It's been real heavy, right? And then coming off of my grandpa's birthday, it's just been. I've been reflecting on life, and I also feel the need, like I got this thing on me where I feel like I'm behind, in a sense, right? Like I'm behind on what I need to be doing. So many different people around me are just leaving me, who I look up to or who nurtured me in a way, and I feel like my way of giving back or showing my appreciation is me making it and being there for the family who was there for me, right?
Sure.
Like even though we didn't come from millions, right? $1 million can come out of me if I push myself to do it, right? So just been battling all that, right? And then as a man, balancing work, wife, and children.
What? A man has to balance and straddle? What? Look at
right? So
look at God. He
you know what I mean?
some type of way about balance.
It's getting real serious in these streets.
Welcome.
My wife like, we need a date. I'm like, I said, okay, cool. And it's not that I don't want to. It's just we be so like, I don't know what's the word, boggled down into what we're doing. By the time I look up, she like, hey, we need a date. I said, all right, cool. So I blocked out the next 2 Fridays. I'm like, we going somewhere Friday, we going somewhere this Friday, right? So that she feels heard, seen, and appreciated, right? We was watching something last night, and I'm like, man, we got to make it. She was like, no, we need to live while we're making it.
That's
I
true.
said, okay, cool.
That's
right?
true.
So, it's the balance of life.
Absolutely.
The balance of life.
Yeah. That's difficult.
Balance of life. So, then, like I was telling you, so what's really been heavy on me is the transition of how can I do more for the reasons why I want to do more, serve more, right? Do what God told me to do, and having that mindset of like, man, I'm not doing enough, or I'm behind. Not that I'm not doing enough, but I just feel a little behind, and I feel like I could pick that up a little bit. And then I seen the other day an article come across my desk from Wells Fargo on the discrimination of mortgage discrimination.
I mean,
and
I'm
I said,
surprised that
here
Wells
we go.
Fargo is yet again in a in a scandal, an issue.
I know, Wells Fargo bank. We just need to, and it's not that I'm surprised, but I think when I assess Black American and those of us who are successful by whatever the stretch of that definition means to you, but you think about the rise of Black entrepreneurs as of late that are just on this growth spurt of like million, 7 figures, 8 figures, and I look at the totality of our race or our people. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna be successful or everybody's gonna be business owners, but I feel like we owe a duty to come back and bring up our cities, environments, and our people for the advancement of our people as we go out here and crush the world, right? And the article made me think about one of my favorite movies, The Banker. If anybody haven't seen it, it's on Apple. No plug to Apple, but it's a good movie. Where they talk about 2 African Americans in the 60s that had to go about risky business in California to build a real estate empire. And then they moved into Texas and started buying banks and start giving out loans and mortgages to Black businesses so that they could get ahead. And once the city officials came in on it, and here's my discrepancy with politics. Once the city officials became in on it, you had senators from Arkansas and stuff put the legislation together to stop the advancement of Black people getting access to loans. And then after that, that's when we had the I forget the act. What's the discrimination against the Housing Act, the discrimination.
But those legislatures would not have been able to do what they needed to do if they weren't voted in. The power they have comes from the people. And so we are not involved in that part of politics. I think when a lot of people want to kind of cheer on the sidelines or complain on the sidelines and say politics doesn't matter, you got to get your money, obtaining true wealth is almost not even truly attainable without politics. To really understand why politics is so important, because there are people who make the laws, the rules that you need to get things through this country, to get it passed, to get it in front of people, or not to get it shut down, right? Hence why lobbyists, why that's even a word, why being a lobbyist is even a thing, because they're getting their agenda in front of the legislators who make the laws in this country. Whether we like it or not, that's the system that
we live in
which we live in. And so we can't stand on the sidelines and critique the system, try to tear it down, right? But not play in it. We want to play in every other avenue. We got to get the bag. We're going to move to the suburbs. We're going to try to go to the schools. We want to get the car. But we don't want to really play in the game of politics, which is really how you attain wealth to me. You can't live in a city that talks about urban renewal and development, and you're in real estate and you're not sitting on the boards and you're not showing up at the city council meetings. To me, that's like ridiculous to me. You know what I mean? It's like you're fighting yourself. It's almost like you're fighting with one hand behind your back, but the politics allows you to fight with both hands.
I guess I just got a love-hate relationship when it comes to economics and politics, because I don't doubt that it doesn't advance us or help us, but I do doubt how it's used to also go against us, right? So as I'm looking at it, first of all, I started reading on Black history, BlackWealth, right? And I find it's my first time ever hearing something about it from me reading it. was in like the periods between the 17 and the 1900s. There was so much black wealth from the South and North. It wasn't like a thing like, oh, we had to go up north.
Reconstruction.
Well,
which was policies put in place to make people do what they sometimes innately don't want to do. So government forces culture and people to move in a particular direction, right? So government is there to aid and push society, right? Because if those things weren't there, then we might still have slavery, right? There wasn't we had to fight a war. We had to put policies in place. If we didn't have certain amendments to the Constitution, we couldn't vote, right? Policy and laws matter because sometimes we don't do innately what we think people should do. So government has to push culture in that regard. And that, to me, that's across even industry as we go into modernization, right? Government is pushing policy towards EV, towards solar, right? We're pushing a particular agenda because of what? The planet, right? Same thing with what were everyone that was up in arms about? Diversity and inclusion, right? The federal government had to say, listen, y'all need to have more diversity and inclusion.
And then look at what happened to that. That died down.
Well, that's the backlash on it.
Listen,
but
so
you
as
still have to push it because without it, they're not going to do it.
Listen, y'all, we're trying to explore this conversation on black wealth, right? So we talking about the future of black wealth, the advancement of black wealth, right? So from a political arena, right? Not saying that it's not important, but I don't think we push the agenda of economics and more especially group economics to meet politics for it to work in our favor. When you look at growing into, we talking pre-Civil War, so the 1700s, where you had cities like New Orleans that were, we talking about all throughout the South, but more especially the city of New Orleans, South Carolina, Virginia, where there were a huge amount of black people who had to, before taxes was even a thing, black people was paying taxes, okay? So when black people they would go out and they would call free slavers, where they would go out and do work for hire. And so they would be carpenters, all the things above. Black women would be seamstress, all the things above, to go outside of on the plantation to get work. And they had to bring their slave owners a portion of their proceeds. So see how economics, right? So when it was when everybody wins, there's no question about it. So the black man or black woman goes out after picking cotton, do free hire and say, hey, I'm gonna go to Mrs. Johnson's house and build out her a deck, and a portion of the money I make, I gotta give some of it to my slave owner because I'm still living here, right? Or what? And so his pocket is being freed, and it comes in a point where there was just like everybody just wasn't just on the plantation solely making money. So the slave owner still making money, right? Then you go into here's the first thing I seen where I had an issue with politics. You talk about Tennessee. It was illegal for black people to practice medicine. But guess what? From a black man called Dr. Jack, this is the part where economics and us as a people we tend to lose. There's not enough risk that we put involved for the advancement of our life. You know what I mean? And I think this is deeper than just like this is deeper than money for us, in my opinion. It's deeper than, we can just get the bag and go buy Gucci Louis. And I'm not saying that that's what everybody do, but this is for the advancement of our life itself. Mm-hmm. The man risked his life and still practiced medicine, right? And then a huge portion of it he was paying to a slave owner. So it was already illegal. And the slave owner knew it, right? He was so good, though, he still was given a portion of it. When the slave master died, my man moved to Nashville, and he was so good. We talking about him being a doctor, not only for black people, for white people too. He was so good that the people petitioned to the legislators to do an amendment to the bill, right, to exclude him. It's like, well, black people can't practice medicine except Dr. Jack. and moved to Nashville to be successful. Right?
But they did a law. That was a law put in place. And how are they able to do that? Now, I'm not saying all politics is like winner, chicken dinner.
Right.
But it is a way to yield your power as a collective of people. Because for them to put something on the books to say we can or cannot do it, that's how we were able to win a lot of our rights, by using those same laws against them. And so as a people, I think if we come together and vote that's in our best interest and hold the people we vote accountable, now we can't say, oh, I voted for you and then turn your back and I still participate. I go to HOA meetings. I'm going to urban development meetings, and we are not there. We sit on all these apps and we complain about what the white man is not doing, what the government is not doing. We're shut out of industries. We're shutting ourselves out. We don't participate in the system. Whether you like it or not, it's the system that is there, right? When people talk about, urban development, and they talk about, people coming and gentrifying our communities, we don't invest in our own communities. We go outside because we think they ice is colder. And we don't invest and put back in our neighborhoods. We're not showing up taking advantage of what is that? It's a tax savings for the communities that are in rural and urban areas.
Or empowerment zones.
Empowerment zones, right? So when the large companies come in, they're not like, oh, I want to displace black folks. They're thinking business.
But I think a lot of that,
they're like, it's business. I get a tax cut. It's bigger business to develop these plighted areas. Mm-hmm. Or underdeveloped that's in rural, but we don't play that game because we don't know, or we don't show up because we're too busy looking at the small goal. I just got to get the bag. We're not thinking wealth.
But I guess my point with politics is like why do we even have empowerment zones? Why is there even a such thing as an underdeveloped city? Right, and when you look
rural
at
areas too now.
But I'm just saying, right? So
we got to talk about both sides of the fence. They're underdeveloped rural and urban areas.
Either way it go. Why is that such a thing, right? When we talk about black people being able, or people, period, right? Because at a certain point, it's not necessarily a race thing. Where, from my point, I think it's more so in today's time. I'm moving on the track of it's more classism. There's poor people and then there's rich people. But back in those days, it was for sure a race thing between whites and everybody else, because black people was not the only people. They shut out the Asians. They shut out the Irish. Nobody wanted to do business with none of them, right?
Yep.
So for me, though, black people say, and Frederick Douglass said it, he said, you need to pick up a trade or starve. So it was businesses that was raised up, right, which we don't hear about in school systems. We don't hear about it in no other institution. Those periods where black people were business owners, thriving and booming in their cities and towns. And then you got white people who use politics. Why? Because there was so many black businesses doing well that they were getting cut out economically, because black people were coming in and doing quality work for a cheaper price, which in those days meant that they got more business because more people was coming to them. Blacks, whites, it doesn't matter the race. They were providing a service at a better and cheaper rate, and so white people got shut out, which instituted, white people said, we're going to take it political. That's when they start instituting license. And then what? Now we got to fight. So our relationship with politics is fighting for our economic survival.
For sure, because every time you get to this point, they start moving the goalpost because we're not involved.
No, because we're winning.
You wouldn't let nobody move the goalpost if you're involved in moving the goalpost.
Right, but my point is there's a goalpost because from an economic structure.
But it wouldn't even have to be if we're involved in said structure. So we're on the outside complaining about the system that we don't even participate in.
Right.
But if you were inside the game and you were the referee or you were a coach, then you can help shape how the game is played.
But from a political standpoint, from what history tells us, we couldn't even be in the game.
We're talking about today where less than 50% of Black Americans vote. We're talking about Louisiana, which is predominantly African American. Had, I think, on the last, what's my man name? Gary Chambers. That's my man.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 37% of Black people voted.
Mm-hmm.
It had good policies, talking about economic renewal, talking about bring certain policies for the education system, but we're not participating. We're not. And so then I look at now where BlackWealth is as entrepreneurs. There's a lot of us in this space who've made money,
Right.
who've made strides,
Right.
but we're so disconnected and we're so singular focused on our family and our money that we can't join hands and move the culture, to me, as a people forward.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at powerhouses like some of the top billionaires who were able to play a larger game when they got, to me, a little bit involved in politics. I mean, look at Oprah. She's like pushing a candidate, pushing this. They get in politics. Great, they want to do something, but it's a little self-serving because they want to make sure that their things that they're into works, right? We talk about radio and television. Oprah had their own network. For her to even purchase that, it was politics. So she had to get involved in the game. Why? Because she's a Black woman who is not traditionally nice looking. She had to overcome a lot. They told her you was ugly. You're not going to make it. Threw Donahue down, made a #1 show, highest paid woman, was able to buy a network from a company who did not want her to buy it. Why? That's politics. And that's wealth. And that's wealth.
And look at the history of politics. It's based off personal agendas.
But she had to do it. Now, because I don't know what she's doing now, because they come together as a collective. Well, she threw everything she could around Barack Obama. But people, I mean, I just think, as a people, we have to think about the game bigger than us, right? Because she's able to obtain the type of wealth she has because of it. Tyler Perry, to buy a military base. You think it wasn't politics involved?
For sure. Georgia? I mean, he had the help of Kasim Reed that was able to kind of, they changed laws, but
to get him to be able to buy that.
But in order, and here's always my point, I'm always stand on this. In order for him to be seen from a political arena with the mayor, had to be beneficial to Atlanta. Tyler Perry brought the economics.
Absolutely.
He had the business structure.
But what if
the
Tyler Perry was like, you know what? I don't feel like playing politics. I'm not going to sit at none of these meetings. I don't even think politics works. I'm not going to vote. I'm out of here. I'm going to go somewhere else. I don't know, maybe Texas somewhere, maybe Oklahoma. I don't know. Maybe he would have went to California and started his own studio.
He wouldn't have, because he was already involved in the when we talk about Tyler Perry specifically, he was already involved in the Hollywood politics, which landed him in Atlanta anyway. So my thing is you ain't gonna get black people black people ain't gonna show up and vote, especially in places like Louisiana, all these places, unless we solve their hunger needs first. And I think that it need to be more and more people pushing the agenda. But you have to
also solve your own hunger needs.
Right, for sure.
Right now,
I can't say
the appropriation bill, where you bringing that up, that woman was just talking about that the Republicans want to cut 30% of the farm bill, which handles the SNAP program, which feeds poor children every day in public school. They want to cut it, it addresses your hunger. If your children don't eat, but you're voting or not showing up, you shooting yourself in the foot. And you don't want to play that game. But why? Because you're like, well, I got to eat today and I got to go work at so-and-so and work 3 or 4 jobs. But we know we could walk and chew gum at the same time. Because people did it in the 60s. Some people, when they boycott, but they was also involved in politics.
So watch this. So is there, and I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm for Democrat or for Republican, but let's say that the bill passes or that they want the bill to cut the SNAP program. Is there such a bad thing as black people going out here to make money, or poor people? Let me not say black people. Poor people.
Yes, because
going out to make money to handle their own bills and household and provide their own food.
But why can't you do both?
Why can't you do what?
Why can't you get assistance as well as work. It's not like they're taking. I mean, you still have to do it.
But my point is,
the people
why would
that
you need assistance?
Because the SNAP program provides free lunch to kids who go to school.
But why is that in place?
Because a lot of people don't make enough money.
Right.
With the cost of inflation and how food is.
Right.
To send their kids to school every day with a healthy lunch.
So if we had better jobs, more income, we could build up our own cities and neighborhoods and provide for our own.
But government is to put in place sometimes where there is lack. And if there is lack.
The government caused the lack. And they're trying to help the lack.
Well, I want to put all of that on government. There's industries that possibly cause lack, not the government itself.
What you mean industries?
Well, there's certain industries private that cause lack. If I am a grocery store, I'm a private industry.
Sure.
I create the cost on goods.
For sure.
The government doesn't have anything to do with that unless they start putting regulation
on the food
and say you're price gouging people.
Right.
And so
I'm not in disagreement with helping people, but I'm also for people being able to take care of it. Right.
I am 100%.
Like you got, and I think that's the part where economics and politics need to cross roads, and we don't meet that road enough.
And I think you could chew gum and walk at the same time.
For sure.
I think people to be self-sufficient and to get our people is a mindset thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about the story of what's my girl who freed all the slaves.
Harriet Tubman,
who carried a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Not for the slavers, but for the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "You're not going to get me caught. And I will shoot you dead before I go back to slavery because you are too scared to go to freedom.
Yeah.
My shotgun is for you. So you don't even, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's us.
A lot of times it's us.
She like, I could walk and free all these people.
For sure.
And my shotgun is for you. So that's how I look at us. We need to get our mind together to move forward. And the government giving assistance is kind of like misdirection.
Yeah, I think I just look at it from a standpoint of America built, or the world built, a political and government structure. And I think that from the inception of it, it was never for the advancement of the people, but more so for the control of all people.
For sure.
And when you look at my stance from a biblical perspective on politics, right? Solomon says, study the ant. There's no ruler. There's nobody in charge of the ants. Yet all of them come together, right? They gather their food in the summers, gather it in the harvest, and they dwell as a colony in they whole ant situation. And I think that from when you look at it from a biblical perspective, especially in America, where we place our hand on God on every court and city official, but then don't follow those commandments. That's God's law, but it's just also natural law. Like if I'm just doing good and you need assistance, there's a natural law for me to be able to provide something because my cup runneth over and I can do that.
Well, that's not natural. Hence why you need law for people to share wealth. They don't want to share. That's not natural. The people don't want to share. They like, my money is mine.
And I agree with that.
I'm not paying for y'all poor babies.
I agree with that.
They can't eat. That's on them. I'm feeding me and my family.
I agree with that.
So you need government to push people and industries to share because you won't. Hence why, I mean, you look at even in the 1900s during the Industrial Revolution, when factories would get burned down because there were no safety, children were working in there, 9 years old, women. There was no regulation because why government had to say, listen, first of all, y'all need 2 exits. Give the people an in and an out. Get some fans in here. Okay, if you're under 16, we can't have the children in here. Because why? I'm thinking about what? My money as a factory owner. Right? How much money am I going to make from said people? So I think government pushes industry in a way that is unnatural for people. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. in that regard.
So I mean, I'm not in.
We always disagree on politics. So
I got a love-hate relationship for it, because I'm definitely for the advancement of our people, and I know that for Black people, right, we don't see, or poor people, we don't see wealth enough to know about it, to hear about it, to know that that's where we came from.
Sure.
Right? Like, to study between the 17 and 1900s to understand, like, no, it was Black people. That's how we made a living, was from trade and business, and people were leaving legacies and
no, for sure, because we were unhireable.
Down.
They wouldn't hire.
Right.
So we had to create our industry.
System
Absolutely.
That's built by political arena to have the power to extract that from our history books, be able to have control over what we see, read, hear, to produce and control people.
Yeah.
That's my problem when it comes to politics. And that's my problem when it comes to us. So I do get it. Yeah, we do need to be in our local, city, count, federal, all up the chain. But I don't think it's going to be, I don't think nobody's going to be able to hear us unless we have the economic structure for our lobbyists to advance our people, which brings about us having group economics.
I agree 100%. Because you said if we don't come together and get our own lobbyists, right? We can't come together and be on TikTok talking about twerking and making it pop and hot, and I'm standing on business
to combat the laws that
doesn't change nothing, because we cool and we can stand on business.
Yeah.
That doesn't do anything. But what does do it is we, as a collective, say, hey, we're going to come up with a national Black entrepreneur lobbyist group, and we all contribute $1,000 that we can petition in front of Congress for what benefits us.
For sure.
That's movement. That's change. I'm down for that.
So with your views on politics and all that stuff, what you think you could give the people to, a couple tips to build Black wealth from your perspective, how you think it should be built?
Get involved in your local governments. Please be involved. If you own a house, you need to go to your HOA meetings. You need to go to your local city council, your urban development, because what happened, the federal part of it is the macro, right? It does affect you, but what really affects you every day on how you live your life every day is local politics. Local politics. Your insurance commissioner, it affects when your insurance premium goes up. That is an elected official. If you tired of your insurance going up, then you need to say, well, who is the insurance commissioner for Fulton County? What's your policy? What's your stance? Because my insurance premium keeps going up in 30349, but I notice in 3000 Buckhead, it don't go up. Help me. Explain that to me.
Right.
That's affecting real change that affects the people in your neighborhood and your community.
For sure.
To me. Your sheriff is an elected official. You tired of people policing you, riding on your back. You feel like stop and frisk, whatever that is. Show up. You can't complain and want other people to do the work and then complain about the work they're doing. And you in your window looking. Look, they ain't do a good job. Look, get your butt down there and you know what I mean? And start cleaning yourself.
Right.
We can't expect no one else to do the work for us, but we will have no problem sitting in the window, perch, looking and criticizing and complaining. Rather it's right or wrong, we got to do something. Movement. We got to do something. And you don't know if something is wrong until you figure it out and go, that was wrong. Let's try something else. The same thing happens with politics. Policy is just a collective of ideas and thoughts that they try and go, well, how can we uplift this neighborhood? How can we get Black people to have a higher literacy rate? How can we? And so other people who don't look like us come up with policy on what it is to help uplift us.
For sure. For sure.
Because we're not in the rooms. We don't sit on boards. We ain't got time for that. Okay, well, keep having time for your insurance to increase. That's your time. All right.
So, I don't disagree. I think my approach to Black wealth is going to be a however comma.
But what I do like is that it's multiple ways to skin the cat.
For sure.
We just got to skin some cats.
Everybody got to do it.
We all have to play a part.
The part about it is although I push Black economics and entrepreneurship and business, the truth about it is everybody won't be a business owner, right?
Correct.
But you do need business owners to advance in my opinion, to advance our people for us to even have first of all, when you shut a community out of economics, it looks like urban cities that have no food, no clothes, no shelters, and they have babies that we got to protect. And so that filters a city of crime in all shape, forms, and fashions. That's prostitution, that's robbery, that's all the things above. Because we can't see past our hands of survival. So for me, if we build up our economic structure, what does that mean? We go get better jobs. We have more Black people own and produce well-thriving industry and businesses so that we can hire more people to advance them in their areas where we could either move up, produce build up our cities, build up our homes, increase our own values. And I think if we solve the need for us to not be so strapped economically, it frees up the thinking power to say, well, now we have the time to sit in front of the city officials to say, hey, well, we need to fight against this because now we built up the money. It's still stopping us from these certain avenues. We heard in InvestFest this year, right, from Diddy, like, I'm a billionaire and I'm still meeting and having problems on this side. So it doesn't go away, but the more of us who push the agenda of living a better life economically, financially, whatever that looks like for us, it meets those people who are down at the city council who are wanting to serve at they level where we could put money to lobby up against the people who want to go down there and fight for our rights and stuff, so that our condition could change as a poor nation, right? Not just a Black or white or Mexican or what's it, but from a poor class to the rich class. Because when you look at it, that's the division that we really fighting. Politics and stuff was put in place because the poor people was advancing and they was doing great with little bit of nothing. Our hands was tied and we was still tying shoes. Right? So we have that within us, and if we explore more and more of our history of those of us who made it, the Dr. Jacks of the world, the people who started and built up ports and harbors and barbers and all the things that we did in those days, that's where our politics came into play. The building of the AME churches, right along with the Freemasons and then the sororities later on, because that's where we would do our politics.
For sure. We had
in those
own
back halls.
Pipeline and infrastructure. That was like our own
boys way.
Club, right?
So somebody asked, I think Dave asked today, like, how do we know we always showing up late to the agenda.
For sure.
Like, we don't know what's going on. But in my eyes, back in those days, when we had people who were with politics that met with people who had money, and they came together on one common ground via their local lodge meetings, their church meetings, or their sorority and fraternity meetings for the advancement of our people. Those are AKAs who fought with legislators down in D.C. to advance the people, right? Those are Masons and bricklayers who fought in Philly, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, that had the legislator to move the people forward. So we need the advancement of both. And so pick which one you want to go down the line first. I don't think one is greater than the other, but I think you need both.
I think you tap into what you're interested in, right?
Sure.
So some people might go, I am a part of a sorority and a fraternity.
Right.
Well, let me bring it to my local chapter. Hey, guys.
What's happening?
Who is our city council? What zone are we in, and what are they voting on? What is on the agenda, right? When I talk about urban development, what's coming to this community in this area that we need to be tapped into? Every time they're developing something, they put up a zone sign, and it's a hearing that has to be had to let you know what's coming to the community.
Locally.
Nobody comes.
Nobody.
Very few people go to those communities and allow different things into their neighborhood as we complain that another liquor store or another pawn shop, but y'all don't show up, right? And they post them. Now, is it on the shade room? No. But when you drive past it every day, it's a sign out there. Yeah. Hey, it's at this time at this and such place. Yeah. So I would get involved in what you're involved in. If you are part of your HOA, hey, what zone are we in? Who's our city council? What agenda is being voted on?
For sure.
Right? If you're a part of a entrepreneur group, hey, what's our agenda? Let's get involved more politically so we can figure out what's happening locally that we can help make a change. If I have a voice, you have a voice. Let's help, because that's where change happens, and then each group can connect. You talked about InvestFest. Was what, 200 or 20,000? I don't know the amount or the number of people that was there, but it was amazing. It was a great amount of people who were there, their singular focus was financial advancement.
For sure.
Now, would it have been great to have different, getting people to sign up to vote outside or a booth? Hey, you from the city of Atlanta, you from the city of Louisiana, where are you? What's your address? Get local people involved. What city are you in? What zone are you in? This is your city council. This is when they give people the information that'll help change their circumstances in real life.
Sometimes, on both sides of the fence.
On both sides. Right. On both sides. Don't just give them, say, here, make this money, make this money.
Right.
How can you, make money, get involved in your political arm in your area, right? And I think some people, and there's communities and there's organizations out there that just need to connect, right? We talked about that web. They need to connect. Everybody is fighting over which road to go down.
For sure.
Where multiple people can go down multiple roads, just connect.
Yeah.
Connect. If that's not my fight, I love helping women soar, but I might want to connect with someone who wants to help young guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to connect so he could do it, so they could do it. We don't all have to go down the same road. But we can connect so we can go down more than one road at a time.
The only thing I'm going to say as we close this talk on the advancement of in the future of BlackWealth, and hear me good. In whatever position of authority you decide to place yourself in, make sure that you are there to be of service to the people and the advancement of the people. You can't be in these political arenas and be self-serving and not doing the things that's going to advance the people as well as these business owners. Those two people have to meet to and agree so that we could have the advancement of people, right? Because there's too many distrust in politics from even our own people that's being backed by white money or whoever else money that pushes their agendas and their own agendas. For our agendas to be pushed, we got to be married together, and it all has to be for the advancement of the people in totality, and not what Tariq want or not what Farah want, but what's right for the people, the masses of the people, period. So take the position you choose to go down serious, and make sure that you are doing it for the livelihood of the people, and don't play around with people's lives. And that's the last thing I'm going to say on that.
All right, church. That closes us out for this evening.
For sure,
Please pass the collection plate. We take tithe and offerings.
The doors of the church is open,
for the church and mind your business. That's it.
Listen, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the episode. Listen, leave a comment. This is an ongoing discussion. I'm sure it ain't going to leave us. But as we close out the year, we want to make sure that Black wealth or wealth of the poor is the first and foremost thing in your mind as we go into the new year. Make better choices about what you're about to do, right? So like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know what you think.
That's right. What he said.
Peace.
We talk about goals, right? And people setting goals. That kind of goes into what we're talking about today, right?
Which is commitment.
Commitment, right? And getting those goals down, what that looks like. How, right, by taking the year and chopping it down and moving the needle so that the stuff you're doing is actually moving the needle.
Right.
That it's not just busy work. It's not. So then you look up, 6 months have gone past and you haven't really accomplish any of your goals because you were focused on some things that really aren't about moving the needle.